put everything together, and I decided to write a script, chapter 1, 2, and 3. And that made it, that made things a lot easier, because you started at the beginning. When on the album, I talk about my childhood, The second part, it's when chaos come with the passing of my dad, which is entering, the teenage years, until all, the troubles you have in life, until adult life. It's not that I was talking specifically about me. It's like everyone's life is about. I imagine that you had your troubles during the teenage years, and when you're becoming an adult, God, God forbid us of being an adult, please. But being a grown-up, and the thing is that I tried to do that, and when I had everything ready, I was like, okay, I have these guys, so why not? Why not? So I knew that Steve will play on the album, Steve Rothery. So I was like, okay, he will play like that. But then I wrote to Hackett, and I know that Steve Hackett made some collaborations, some of them.
Yep.
And I was like, well, I already have the no. Let's go for the yes.
That's right.
So we met a couple of times and everything. I was so nice on the email that was, Steve, I have no right to ask for this, but it will be. And he was like, hey, Gabe, I'm on tour right now. I think he was on the Middle East or something like that. But write me again in 2 weeks. I'll be back. Okay. So I wrote him again. And I remember exactly, my wife was here in Miami visiting family, here in Celebration, not in Miami, here in Celebration where we live, visiting family. I was alone in the apartment, and I remember I woke up at 7, and I saw my phone, and there was an email that said Steve Hackett, and I didn't want to open it because I was like,
could be a no.
I can't stand to be a no. And when I opened that, Steve is so nice that I think you've been in touch with him. He answers you 10 minutes, 10 minutes, not far from 10 minutes. He always pretty fast. And he was like, hey, Gabe, I'll be delighted to play on your album. And I was like, I remember I started screaming like crazy, like, yeah. At 7 in the morning, and because of course I'm a musician, I play with big names and everything, but I'm still a fan.
Of course,
right? Yeah. I'm still a fan, and of course I have my pictures with Steve Hackett, but having Steve playing on your song, how can you top that?
Yeah. So Steve is very nice. He was my first interview, actually. So
yeah, so he sent. I sent him the track. And I remember that the very next day, he sent me the solo for the song. And when I heard that, I was like, okay, not being disrespectful for any other artist, but he was inspired because he wasn't jamming. When you're a musician, you can tell that he wrote that thing, he thought about it. It's not, okay, I'm playing a couple of licks here and then, no. And at the end of the day, it was like, okay, as a Stevie Hackett fan, this is the solo to have on my music that I ever dreamt about. It was incredible because, to be honest with you, the first album that I heard from Stevie Hackett's solo's career, and to this very day, I love that album, is the Tokyo tapes.
Of course, yeah, I know that album. Yeah.
It was like a super band and all and I was like, damn, to this day, I'm listening to that album and I was like, man, the solo he played on my album tops any of that. So, being a King Crimson fan, of course, you can see my tattoo of Discipline here. So I was like, Adrian couldn't do it because he was on tour or something. Man, Adrian Belew is one of my all-time favorite artists, and but I knew that Jakko Jakszyk
Yeah.
he was friends with Steve, with both Steves, with Hackett and Rothery, and I was like, I'm going to take advantage of this. So I wrote him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I agree." So out of the blue, I became the only guy in the planet besides Hackett, because Hackett had Rothery and Jakko on one live album, but I was the only guy on the planet to have those three guys on the same album.
Wow.
So out of the blue, I have. So you guys, if you're watching this interview, so check the album, because you will find the guitar player from Marillion, Genesis, and King Crimson on the same album.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I interviewed Jakko as well, like a year ago. He when he wasn't touring with King Crimson, very nice person. So now for the trio, I need to interview Steve Rothery now. You know.
Yeah. I put you in touch with him, and it's great. It's great because, you know, I remember when after he recorded that, and before the pandemic, they went to Buenos Aires on the tour, you know, on their tour. He was, I mean, imagine this: King Crimson fan, already had, and he invited me to the show, and I was first row watching King Crimson, and that show that was like almost 3 hours or something, and something that was meant to be, because the night they played the first show in Buenos Aires, it was the 50th anniversary of In the Court of the Crimson King. So it was that night. So I was meant to be, right? So, and I met the band after that and all that stuff. But the only one that didn't show up was Robert, that I think he ran to the hotel or something. And that was incredible. And to this day, I mean, the album is great because it tells the story. I mean, whether you like it or not, but I mean, it's so honest, you know. I didn't want to sound like Genesis or Marillion. So when people ask me, what do you think? I mean, how it sounds like? And I was like, well, if you ask me, I try to blend together of some of my favorite bands, that it's the melody of Marillion, the rock part of Rush, you know, the energy of Rush, and the modern part of it. It's because I love Muse, one of my favorite bands. So they have their, you know, the pop thing, they have the prog thing, the heavy thing, you know, and I love
a good combination, right?
Yeah, I love the combinations, and I love bands that they don't attach to one style, you know. And of course, because I grew up during the 80s, I grew up with Misplaced Childhood, with the 80s, yes, which many people despise, but I love. I mean, I consider Trevor Rabin one of the best guitar. I mean,
of course, I agree with you.
I mean, the guy saved, whether people, I think people will hate me for this, but I think Trevor saved Yes during the 80s, you know, because they just stayed being stars, unlike many others. You know.
By the way, have you ever met John Anderson? I'm seeing him on Wednesday next week.
No, I never met with John. With John, and funnily enough, his producer lives here with friends, Michael Franklin, and he produced the Thousand Hands album, and now he's producing the Thousand Hands Part 2. You know, and he also produced the late Robbie Steinhardt's From Kansas album. You know, it was. So he's a very prog guy. You know, very prog guy. And I never the night that I was supposed to meet John, I had a show, and I was like, but okay, work is work, right? So anyway, so. There will be another chance.
I email Michael Franklin a couple of days ago because I would love to interview him for the radio as well, and hopefully he will get back to me. And I told him that I was seeing John Anderson on Wednesday, like 2 hours from here. So I will hopefully
Yeah,
we'll
yeah. I mean,
talk to him.
and John, I don't know if he's playing with his own band. He came here to play with a rock school band from
Yeah, they're
yeah.
he's playing with them. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, these kids can really play, right?
Oh, can
So
really play. Oh, yeah. There's
they
no
can.
high school
Well,
band. They're very good musicians.
take a look at Adrian Belew, for an instance. I mean, when he reformed his trio, Julie, and at the time the drummer was Julie's brother.
Yeah.
Then he left and he was replaced and everything. But I mean, he was blown away that these two kids at the time were able to play Crimson or all that stuff, you know. And that's why, unlike many of my favorite rock stars says that rock is dead, rock is not dead. These kids, you know, there will be always kids learning all this stuff, you know, and I love that. I love that.
No, of course. I read somewhere that you are currently being endorsed by several music gear companies, right? Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, yeah, that makes me, I mean, not only that makes me proud, but it makes my wife happy that I'm not spending fortunes on guitar, right?
That's right.
Even I have a couple, but yeah, I mean, it's great, you know, when you work with several companies because it's not I mean, seriously, it's not a matter of getting things for free. It's a matter of you feel that you're supported on your job because when you're on tour and you become a professional musician, you need to rely on your gear a lot. You cannot go with a shitty guitar out there, you know, and say, "Oh, this is the best," and you're fighting the thing the whole time. So the brands and the companies I work with show me that their products are incredible. I'm lucky. I mean, I'm lucky enough to say that I test them and road test them, you know, on tours for a long time. So everything that I use, it's because I think it's the best, you know, in the market. Because either Reverend guitars, you know, even people say, how can you play a Korean made guitar? Well, if it's good enough for the guy from The Cure and, you know, and the guys from many other bands, it's good enough for me. And I've been playing with those guitars. I mean, I always like the guitars, you know, to be able to play a lot of different things. And so I can be able to play a whole show with the same guitar. That's why sometimes a Fender Stratocaster or a Gibson Les Paul doesn't work the whole time for me because they have a certain sounds that are awesome on their own right, but for a session player that I need to play many styles, you know, and probably on the same show, I always, you know, doing modifications to the circuits and all that stuff. But the thing is that I need something to be very versatile. And these guitars are, I mean, let's take for an instance the last show. I play with the Icons of Classic Rock, you know, it's a show with a collective of singers. You play with the singer from Santana, a singer from Survivor, from the Romantics, the 80s band, right? From Foreigner and Boston. So on the same show, you're playing from the Romantics. That's what I like about you. I'm talking in your sleep to Santana, to Foreigner, to Quiet Riot, because Paul Shortino is a former singer for Roughcut and Quiet Riot. And going through all those styles in the same show, how in the hell you do that with a Gibson Les Paul? Don't get me wrong, they're awesome, but I don't like to carry 4 guitars because sometimes the tour allows with the budget to do it, to bring 10 guitars if you want, and sometimes you need to carry just one or two, you know. Yeah. And I always carry 2 because I need the main one and the backup to that, you know. And I was able to play the whole thing, you know, with just 2 guitars. And that's why I always rely on the best thing. I mean, you cannot go like I said, with a cheap guitar out there, because one thing is playing on the bar on your neighborhood. Well, one thing is when you need to go from a country to another and go through airplanes, airports, blah, 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 blah. So the things stay in tune, stay great during the whole time, and the string the same, elixir string for the guitar players out there, I can tell you, if you're lazy as like me to change strings, elixir strings last the longest and they're awesome. And you change them like every 2 months. So yeah. And I mean, it's a musician thing, but with the time you learn that some stuff it's great, some stuff is not, but you always get the stuff you can rely on, and that applies to the records as well. I mean, you don't play, I mean, whatever you play, it will reflect on your record.
No, absolutely. You've been playing with touring with Fran Cosmo, the lead singer from the band Boston. Feel free to elaborate on how that, how often and for how long have you been playing with him? And I will bring you some names for you to elaborate. So yeah.
Well, the latest one is Fran. When I moved here, I was supposed to work with Bobby Kimball from TOTO.
Yeah.
And when I was here and I was supposed to be flying back and forth, and because obviously we've been in touch with Fran because we were supposed to do a South American tour.
Yeah.
And the tour was canceled like a couple of weeks before it started, blah, blah, blah. So we get in touch. And he knew, because I've been telling all my fellow musicians, that, hey, I'm moving to Florida, so if you need me, blah, blah, blah. And by September last year, 2021, he called me and like, hey, Gabe, look, I need a guitar player because my guitar player got ill and, he's not able to play right now. So I need a guitar player and you're here and you play with all these guys, and are you interested in jump into my band? And I was like, okay, let me think about it. Yes. Yes, because I always been a Boston fan, and Fran is a very cool guy. Then, of course, I was able to play all the Boston songs, that I grew up with, and I was listening on the radio. I mean, you're playing, I don't know, More Than a Feeling, a rock and roll band, and all those timeless hits that, and you see people joining and singing, and the emotion on their faces, because they grew up and sometimes you see people crying, in the first rows, and because those songs are part of their soundtrack of their lives, Of course. And it happened. Well, it happened the same to me with every of the artists I played with, when I play with these guys and the icons of classic rock, when you play Eye of the Tiger and all those, and the Foreigner songs, so Come and Feel the Noise from Quiet Riot, and the same with Bobby. I remember Bobby was the first big artist I played with, and I remember with Bobby, I started playing arenas, and it was the first time I started playing for 5, 8, 10, 15,000 people, and the first time I heard the audience roar, when the lights goes out, and I remember one particular night in Peru, we were in Arequipa, big amphitheater, and I remember start playing Africa, and you were playing there, you got the greats just in front of you and all the way, around. And the Africa's percussion, and the moment you start playing it, tan, 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 you hear from the top the roar coming out, and like,
of course.
I mean, I get goosebumps to this very moment from hearing that. And when we play Africa or Rosanna or Hold the Line, I remember people in tears, crying, and then you realize, man, these songs means I mean, a lot to these people. They're part of the soundtrack of their life. So from that moment, I realized that how lucky I am, to being able to play with these guys, because obviously I grew up with those songs too. I mean, when I played with Lynn Turner, playing Rainbow songs or Deep Purple songs with the guys, hanging on your shoulder is like, what? Pinch me, right?
Yeah, feature. Yeah,
Pinch me.
Toto.
I mean,
Yeah, Toto is an unbelievable band. I had the opportunity to interview the drummer that used to be with them, Simon Phillips.
oh man, come on, come on. I mean, that it's a drum god, and
he is unbelievable. I mean the way he's unbelievable. There's no way to describe. Plus, Simon is a very nice person too. Not just he's a good musician,
yes,
good person.
yes.
You know,
Well,
and
imagine this is not the right guitar, but
yeah,
imagine when I was the first time with Steve Rothery and he started playing the
yeah,
Kulick, and I was like, Jesus, man, I grew up with it. And when you hear Steve playing the solo, that
yeah.
I was like, I played that solo 1,000 times, but none of them sound like Steve. And I was just right
Yeah.
1 feet away from him,
Were you nervous at the beginning, the first night?
Well, when I play with when I play with Steve, it was more like I already had a career, as a session guy. So I don't think I was nervous, but of course, the first time Steve comes into the rehearsal room and he puts in, and I was like, not nervous. It's like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to play? Because obviously he's a guitar god. You know what I mean?
Of course.
What are you supposed to play with the guy? And I just play the rhythm or whatever you want, but no, I don't want to be in your way, just tell me what you want me to play. And from that moment I was like, that's why we became so good friends, because I never was in the process of being, no, okay, I'm playing with this, so I'm going to take my opportunity to shine myself. No, I'm always like, every time we play, because we love to play Comfortably Numb, for Pink Floyd, from Pink Floyd. And
yeah.
I always like, I played the chords, the acoustic, whatever. And I remember the last time we played, he was on the first solo after the chorus. Play, you play that. No, Steve, I played solos during the whole show, man. Play something. And then, at the end, we trade licks back and forth, but he was like, and I was like, this is great, because I never dared to try myself into the spot and try to take advantage of that, because no, I'm going to no, I'm just happy to be with the guy there. So of course it's a thrill when you're right next to him, and I mean right next to him, like I have you like far from my computer right now, it's like,
My God, man. Yeah.
and he's playing Kulick or No One Can, or when we play Heart of Lothian, I was like, and he started playing the melodic line. I was like, how lucky I am to be in this position,
Yeah. Plus the money traveling was very good, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, the money, it's always a reward.
Yeah.
It's always being a session player and playing with all these guys and touring worldwide. Of course, it's my day job. It's my day job. And as many other guys, you name it, the guys that plays in Whitesnake, that plays even in Yes or so. If you're not a permanent member, it's your day job.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. So even like Steve Rothery says, Marillion is my day job. My solo band is a thing that I do for fun, and of course, everyone needs to work. So that fantasy of being, super millionaire, even the millionaire guys needs to go on tour from time to time to pay the bills. That's it.
Of course, yeah.
Or to afford another divorce, right? Or whatever. But
Especially divorce, man.
no, especially the guys like Motley Crue and all those guys that they've been married like, I don't know, or Mick Jagger that he needs to support like, I don't know, 20 kids. How many children he had.
Mick Jagger's, he's very rich guy, man. But every divorce costs him, I don't know, $5 million.
Yeah, and but coming back to the thing, I mean, money, of course, it's something that you need and everyone needs. I mean, it's not that you're, I mean, that you're doing for free, even if you make little money and you do it, well, at least you get paid and because your time is valuable, and that's what it counts at the end of the day. I mean, every musician can tell you the same that for with these guys. I mean, I have a dream job. I'm getting paid to play with my idols, with my heroes, traveling around the world, meeting incredible people, and also getting a check for that. Come on, are you kidding me?
Of course, yeah. Well, some musicians that are better and more popular pay better than others, right? So, but still.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course. Yeah. Well, take for instance, Nita Strauss, the female, the guitar player for Alice Cooper. She left Alice 2 weeks ago to move into Demi Lovato's. Right? So many people were like, why in the heck she's leaving Alice? Alice is a rock legend, but Alice is 75.
Yeah.
And also, Demi Lovato, people need to understand that even the music, with all the music and all the stuff, this is a business. So Demi Lovato, of course, has a more budget, a bigger budget than probably Alice. And Nita went for a check like this, bigger like this. And it's okay, because at the end of the day, you never know when the gig is over.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Alice Cooper may have a car attack or decided, well, I'm done. I don't need money. I don't want to tour anymore. My wife complained, my kids complain.
Well, so I'll tell you something.
If you are a guitar for them, you lose a job, So.
Well, actually, very good friend of mine, Joe Hoekstra from Whitesnake. Joe, the blonde guy, from Whitesnake, he's a guitar god. Well, if you watch the pandemic video that we did, he's playing there along with Bruce Kulick and all this stuff. So Joel plays with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He was touring with Cher, and he's playing with Whitesnake, right?
Yeah.
And also on the Rock of Ages musical, Broadway musical. So people is like, well, you're going from Whitesnake to Cher? Yeah, of course. Why not? Why not? And also remember, Cher is not touring. Whitesnake are on the farewell tour. So what will happen when that ends? You need to find a new job.
Of course, yeah.
And of course, will I love to play with Iggy Pop? Of course. But if I'm offered to play with, or let's say that Steve Hackett called me to be his bass player, I would love to. But if Miley Cyrus called me to play on her tour, I'll do it, of course, because at the end of the day, this is my job.
Yeah.
This is my job. When I used to be a respectable person.
When was that?
Yeah, I was pretty young. When I used to be a software developer, it's the same. You're in the same business, right? So you understand what happens when a company calls you for a bigger check. You say, no, I love this company. I say, no, you go with the other company. You leave. Yeah. Because, of course, you need to buy a house, to get a better rent, or pay the mortgage. More money, whatever. Yeah. Well, the difference between you and me is that I play the guitar for a living and you play the keyboard
computers.
for a living.
Correct. Yeah. But man, you have played. I mean, you eventually I imagine that you want to write like a biography or a little book or like Steve
Well,
Rothery,
I always
like
thought about, but I'm waiting. I'm waiting till I get 50 to that.
because think about it, like Steve Rothery, right? He like picture he take his out. I mean, you have played with so many people, man. It's like Survivor, guy from Genesis, Marillion, Cream Crimson, Kiss, Foreigner, Santana, Madonna, blah blah blah, right? So you've been associated with the top band. Think about it. Have you ever pinch yourself and say, man, you were a bad student growing out in Argentina. Growing in Argentina, you ever made it to high school? You thought, man, your band, your mom said, forget about music. You will never go to make it. You need to go to school, get a job, and then look at you now, man. 20 years later, you have played with everybody.
I always say that when people say, when you're young, where do you think music will take you? Do you think it's gonna take you far? Well, it got me a green card. It got me to live in the place in the country I love a couple of times, and it got me here, to play with my heroes. So at the end of the day, like I said, it's a job. But when you're in the spot with these guys, it's something. I mean, do you remember this? Of course. The Romantics?
Yeah. I cannot hear you, but I can feel this.
Well, you tell me that you want me to.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, even if you like it or not, you grew up with those songs.
Of course.
And being able with the guy, being on stage with the guy playing all those songs.
Yeah.
I mean, is it Genesis? No, of course not, because it's different kind of music. But at the end of the day, what it comes to me, if it's the emotion and the feelings that I have when I am able to play that song with the actual guy.
Yeah.
And of course I played that song in countless bands, but now I'm able to play with the guy. The same with being a Rocky fan, playing Eye of the Tiger, Burning Heart, and all that. I mean, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, man.
And not only that, on stage, because when I was in the visa process to come here, those guys actually helped me with the recommendation letters. I had the letters from the guy from Survivor and many friends. Even, Bruce Gage, it's top session player. He was the writer for La Isla Bonita and for the whole of the Richard Marx first album, And when I look, because I have those letters framed, and then when I was looking at those frames, I was like, Jesus, man. I mean, it's totally crazy. It's totally crazy. But believe me, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that every morning when I wake up, I need to grab the guitar because I make a living out of it. Yeah. Because I'm making a living out of a piece of wood with some strings on it. Come on. Come on. I couldn't ask for anything else. I have a beautiful family. I live in the place I love. Doing what I love with the people I love.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
That is what life is all about, and not trying to sound any kind of hippie or dreamer. But yes, you call me dreamer if you want. But the good thing is that dreams are there to make them come true.
Yeah. For me, it was the same. I never saw Gabe that, listening to some records, some tapes before CDs, right? Vinyl and tape recorded that, heroes of mine that now later on I will be able to interview them, and invite them. Some of them I'm going to be I went to Europe and I'm going to Germany soon, and electronic music is very important to me. So I already met. I'm going to be in the living room, getting a beer with people that have a record that I was listening to 4 years ago. So I know exactly what you say,
Let me show you something. Let me grab something that I need to show you.
Yeah, let me give
you're
me 1
talking
minute.
about,
Let me pause. No problem. Go ahead, man. Yeah, go ahead.
okay, one of the benefits of being here, you will recognize some of this, right?
Of course, Marillion. Oh, that's a very good album, man. To Gabe, thank for everything. My God, man. I need to
See,
get one of those. TOTO, of course. Yeah. To Gabe, my good friend, Bobby Kimball. Oh, man. My God, man.
Boston,
Of course. Yeah.
this was a special gift from Steve,
Yeah.
the vinyl of his solo album.
Yeah, of course. Steve Rothery. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I have even the last Marillion album, and I have a couple of these souvenirs, and a lot more, that I have as memorabilia, because, like I said, I'm lucky enough to play with these guys, but at the end of the day, I'm a fan.
Yeah, sure, sure. You need to come when you are not touring. You need to come here to Virginia to visit us as well. My wife is a very good cook, and I will show you my stuff too. I have a
I hope
lot
to
of
be on tour. I hope to be on tour very soon there. I hope to be on tour very soon there, so we can spend some time together. Of course, I always love a good food.
yeah. Oh no, you will like it, man. And then if not, if I'm in
I hope you
Florida,
have some pisco in there.
we have everything. We have pisco, Chilean wine, good. My wife is a very good cook, so we'll have a great time. Hey, Gabe, I think we've been talking to an hour, so let's, in a couple of weeks, if you want, we can do a part 2 on the interview, because a lot of topics that we need to go, and I know you need to get ready for tonight. You're playing tonight, and it was very nice talking to you, Gabe, and when done, I will send you the right link.
Thank you so much for having me. Sorry, people, for my South Carolinian accent, but
no, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, but you have played, man. You need to look back, and I'm not telling you anything that you don't know, but you need to look back and say, man, when I was 20, I was daydreaming, listening to Soda Stereo, this or that. Now you're 40 or so. I have played with the best musicians in the country. The same thing for me. Growing up, I had records from, the Tangerine Dream people, or the Klaus Schulze, or Manuel Goshin, or Steve Hackett, or, whatever, and I have now, 30 years later, I have interviewed a lot of this guy. I have had beer in the living room, with, most of the guys. So still a lot to come, but I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate,
it's something that when people say the old good times, well, I don't think that. I never been attached to that, because 30 years ago, you weren't able to do all that.
Yeah.
Having an interview from your home with Steve Hackett, with all those guys, I mean, forget it.
Yeah.
Forget it. Imagine, I mean, like on my album, 30 years ago, having the guys from King Crimson, Genesis, and Marillion on the same album. How in the hell you do it?
Yeah, you can, be internet.
I mean, you need to go to London and set up a recording studio, and get the guys, because it's great. Nowadays, it's great. I mean, and doing this, like the good old days, it was just a phone.
On the phone, right? We could record the stuff, Yeah.
That's it, on the phone. But, this is great. I think this is great. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for having me. It was really great. And and for the audience, I hope you enjoy the record out there. I mean, there will be a new single coming out in a couple of weeks, and hopefully by September, October, the vinyl will be out. So
perfect, great. It was very nice talking to you, Gabe, and take it easy, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.